Stories from behind the walls. If you go behind the walls the industry erects to hide the truth, you will find the situation worse than you could have imagined. Not Your Childhood Image by Lauren Ornelas, VivaUSA.org. When I saw what life is really like for pigs on today's farms, I was left feeling physically sick for days. I suppose I knew they live on concrete indoors in factory farms. However, I was not prepared for the intensity of their confinement and the awful reality of their boredom. In the gestation shed, I heard a constant clanging noise. It was the cells hitting their heads against the cage doors as if trying to escape. After a while, some would give up and lie down, while others again took up their futile action. I saw the pens where pigs are fatted up for their slaughter, essentially concrete cells, each holding about a dozen pigs. In one pen there was a pig missing an ear, another had a rupture the size of a grapefruit protruding from his stomach. A dead pig was constantly nudged and licked by others. The stench in these places is overwhelming. At the larger farms I visited in North Carolina, there were thousands of pigs housed in sheds. Many were dead or dying. One actually died right in front of me as I videotaped. Dead pigs had been left in the pens with the living. Other pigs had been tossed in the aisles, barely alive, unable to reach food or water. Do we as humans having an ability to reason and to communicate abstract ideas verbally and in writing, and to form ethical and moral judgments using the accumulated knowledge of the ages, have the right to take the lives of other sentient organisms, particularly when we are not forced to do so by hunger or dietary need, but rather to do so for the somewhat frivolous reason that we like the taste of meat? In essence, should we know better? That was Dr. Peter Cheek. And I would answer, of course we should know better. As rational, sentient beings, we should know better. We should use our reason to know right from wrong. And not even reason, just you see these sickening images, and if you were there at the slaughterhouse, you would hear these horrible sounds. Any decent person, whether you regard them as a rational person or not, would have problems with this. Any person that knows right from wrong should know that the meat industry is horrible, should know the dairy and egg industry is horrible. It's really disgusting what goes on. Hope's Rescue from eggcruelty.com. On a cold December morning in 2002, while documenting the conditions inside an egg factory farm in Versailles, Ohio, two Mercy for Animals investigators discovered a hen who would later be named Hope. She had been tossed in a trash can and left to die amid the rotting bodies of countless dead hens. Hope was given a second chance at life when investigators reached into the rusted steel bin and lifted her frail body to safety. After being left for dead by the egg industry, Hope was now fully recovered, free of the cruel battery cage. Today, Hope enjoys sunbathing, running through the grass, dusk bathing, perching, and the company of other rescued chickens that live with her at the farmed sanctuary. This is the natural environment that chickens live in, not these cooped up, horrible cages in factory farms. I mean, I have no problem with eating meat, but only if it's a necessity. Only if you're like, an Inuit out in the middle of the ocean and you're trying to find food, you have to kill a seal, you have to kill a seal, whatever. Or you're in some other place where the productivity of plants is very low, but the productivity of meat or of animals is still there. I have no problem with that. As I've said before, I don't have a problem with that. I have a problem with the horrible cruelties the animal industry does. And I have a problem with, as a modern society, we justify this. As a modern society, we're saying it's okay because we like the taste of meat. That's just wrong. That is just wrong. There's no way it can be justified. There's plenty of plant sources of food that we can go by. There's plenty of plant sources of food we can go by. So where's the need for meat? Where's the need to eat meat? It's just not there. Not even for health reasons. It's not there. We can get all the nutrition we need through plant sources. And that's what millions of people who have realized the goodness of veganism have done. And to continue this article, Hope is one of 38 hens rescued from factory farms since 2001 by Mercy for Animals investigators. All of the hens were in severe need of veterinary care. Unfortunately, approximately 280 million hens remain in U.S. battery cages, where they are denied almost every natural behavior. The question is not, can they reason, nor can they talk, but can they suffer? That was Jeremy Bentham so simply and eloquently putting it, that it's not about can they reason or talk, it's about the suffering that goes on. And as rational, sentient human beings, how can we justify this? How can we justify these atrocities? Like I said, that was Jeremy Bentham, An Introduction to the Principles of Morals and Legislation, 1789. Contrary to what one may hear from the industry, chickens are not mindless, simple automata, but are complex behaviorally, do quite well in learning, show a rich social organization, and have a diverse repertoire of calls. Anyone who has kept barnyard chickens also recognizes their significant differences in personality. That was by Dr. Bernard E. Rollin again. And that just goes to show that not only mammals suffer, not only mammals can suffer, and we can't justify what we do to poultry and chickens and stuff like that. We can't justify what we do to them because they suffer almost as much as any mammal does, They're fearful, and they suffer so much in these factory farms as well. Sorry if it sounds like I'm having a little bit of a breakdown. I am slightly, but I'm maintaining composure. And here's about... Okay, widening the circle. This is just about talking about animals in general, and the cruelty of the various meat industries and stuff like that. Male chicks of no economic value to the egg industry are found dead and dying in the dumpster behind a hatchery. Typically, they are gassed or ground up alive. Other standard agricultural practices, often performed without anesthesia, including castration, tail docking, debeaking, dehorning, toe trimming, and branding. Entangled in the bars of her cage, a hen is left with no access to food or water. Historically, man has calculated the reach of his ethical calculations. As ignorance and want have receded, first beyond family and tribe, later beyond religion, race, and nation. To bring other species more fully into the range of these decisions may seem unthinkable to moderate opinion now. One day, decades or centuries hence, it may seem no more civilized no more than civilized behavior requires. Now it's talking about speciesism. Speciesism. I think, animals are, they're less evolved in a sense. Their mental capacities are far less than us. Sorry, they are evolved. They are just as evolved as us because they've went through, millions and billions of years of evolution just like we have. But, they aren't um, they aren't as developed mentally as we are. But that doesn't justify what we do to them in the meat industry and the dairy industry. If we have to, for survival reasons, to kill an animal, we should be able to do so in the wild, in their natural environment. But there's no need for us to do that in a 21st century with plenty of plant food available. There's no need to do that, and there's no reason to justify at all what goes on in these factory farms. True human goodness, in all its purity and freedom, can come to the fore only when its recipient has no power. Humanity's true moral test, its fundamental test, which lies deeply buried from view, consists of its attitude toward those who are at its mercy, animals. And in this respect, humankind has suffered a fundamental debacle. A debacle so fundamental that all others stem from it. That was by Milan Kundera. Humans who enslave, castrate, experiment on, and fillet other animals have had an understandable penchant for pretending animals do not feel pain. A sharp distinction between between humans and animals is essential if we are to bend them to our will, make them work for us, wear them, eat them, without any disquieting tinges of guilt or regret. And really, there is no difference between humans and animals. We're both animals. We just have a bigger brain and, better capacity to reason. That's it. That's all. And since we have this capacity to reason, why aren't we using it and seeing how awful the meat industry is and the dairy and egg industry is? We should be doing that. If we can't do that, that is just terribly sad. It is unseemly of us who often behave so unfeeling toward other animals to contend that only humans can suffer, which is very wrong. The behavior of other animals renders such pretensions specious. They are just too much like us. And who wrote that? Dr. Carl Sagan and Dr. Anne Druyan from Shadows of Forgotten Ancestors in 1992. Dr. Carl Sagan, all the atheists that talk about him, also pantheists, atheists and pantheists, they both talk about Carl Sagan and they love him for his attacks of religion, as do I. Well, listen here, Dr. Carl Sagan has shown that meat eating is wrong. He's provided a compelling argument for showing that it's wrong, along with Dr. Anne Druyan, as I said. I'm going to go on with this in a second.